Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to talk about some new releases coming out this Friday, June 30th. There's a little over 400 albums coming out. I got 10 on my list today. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlists that we put together every week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. And like I said in the intro, there's a little over 400 albums coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 10 on the show today, though, so if there's something I don't talk about, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what else you're looking forward to picking up. And like always, if you're unable to find any of these in your local brick-and-mortar stores, I'll put links down below. They should all be available online. The first one is an album that I think has really kind of flown under the radar ever since it was released. I think probably more so because this band is probably the most popular period for this band was probably about 35 years ago, to be honest. But this is a really good album. This is LA Guns, Hollywood Forever, released back in 2012. It was their 10th studio album. It's going to be on silver vinyl. It's going to run you about $28. This was their first album. I think it was like 7 years. Yeah, it'd been like 7 years since they'd released any new music. And like I said, it wasn't probably until like 2018, 2019, I think, when I finally listened to some of the songs off this album. And I was really surprised by how good this is. I think this is probably their most complete album. And I was never the biggest LA Guns fan. But this is definitely it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It has some really catchy, really poppy songs on there. Stuff that... like I said, I think it's some of the best stuff that they've done in their career. If you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend at least streaming it and checking it out. I think that's going to be a good release. And then this week you've also got Duran, Thanksgiving Live. This was released back in 1998. The thing is about this is I don't know when it was originally released. I'm not sure if it was just, I see the promo copies that were available in 98, but I don't see like any kind of wide releases. If you know if this was widely released, you can drop me a comment and let me know. But this is a 25th anniversary release of this album. This was on purple and yellow vinyl. It's a double LP. It's going to run you about $40. This was recorded live on Thanksgiving Day in Orlando, Florida in 1997. It was part of the Big Band radio show or radio program that they were doing, which I'm really kind of questioning. I think a lot of those like radio program albums, sound-wise, are kind of questionable. All the reviews I've seen of this over the years, everyone says this is a fantastic release, that this sounds absolutely incredible, especially when you know it's a radio broadcast album. But so this is limited to 1,000 copies, so it might be a little harder to grab. And so this is the interesting thing about this. This was actually a RSD exclusive back in 2018. It was on, I think, silver and clear vinyl, I think is when it came out for RSD. So I'm surprised to see it get reissued, just a couple of years later after that RSD exclusive release. But, it should be available on CD. I think it's available on streaming also, so go out there and check it out. So we've been watching the channel for a while. I'm a big jazz fan. And there's typically a lot of really good jazz releases coming out every week. This week is no different, but this next one is not your typical kind of jazz release. This is Charlie Watts' Anthology. If you're unfamiliar with Charlie Watts, of course he's known as the drummer of the Rolling Stones, a band I absolutely love. But Charlie is also, he loved jazz music, did a lot of work, did a lot of jazz work outside of the Rolling Stones, which I think a lot of people probably really didn't know that about him. But this is a compilation of, 2 decades plus worth of work outside of the Rolling Stones. Some really good music is going to be on this thing, but this includes 3 additional unreleased tracks. He's got Dave Green, Peter King, Evan Parker, Courtney Pine on here. There's a couple other ones also. Like I said, this is going to be a fantastic release. This is going to run you about $36 online, which I don't think is a bad price for what I think is going to be some really good jazz music. And then this week you've also got Volbeat, Guitar Gangsters, and Cadillac Blood coming out. This was released back in 2008, their 3rd studio album. It's going to be on glow-in-the-dark vinyl, though, so I know some people are really kind of funny when it comes to glow-in-the-dark vinyl. They kind of try to stay away from it, and I get it. A glow-in-the-dark vinyl tends to have more background noise in it on the release, but I think they've gotten a little bit better over the last couple of years. But this is going to run you about $29 online. If you're unfamiliar with Volbeat, they're a Danish rock band, released some really great music over the years. This isn't one of my favorite albums of theirs, but I think it is a really solid album. It's still a really good one to check out. There was one track on that album, Still Counting, reached #1 on a couple of the Billboard singles charts here in the U.S. That one's going to run you $29 online, though, if you're interested in picking that one up. So over the course of the past, probably about a year and a half, Bad Brains has been reissuing their catalog. You got another release coming out this week. This is Gotta Love, released back in 1995. It was their 6th studio album. It's going to run you about $40 online. And Gotta Love is an interesting album because it was their first, the first Bad Brains album from the original lineup in 9 years. And it's kind of a return to form album, I think, for me. A great mixture of hardcore, some reggae, some punk, some rock. It is a really interesting release. If you're unfamiliar with it, I highly recommend checking it out. And this was the last Bad Brains album for 12 years. I know in between there was like this weird kind of instrumental album that they released, but as far as like a typical Bad Brains release, this was the last one for 12 years. And this is a great album. I probably put this up as one of my favorite Bad Brains releases. It's definitely one worth checking out. And then another great jazz release coming out this week. You got Eric Dolphy at the 5 spot, Volume 1. I'm hoping that they reissue Volume 2 because both volumes of this are fantastic albums. Released back in 1961. It's going to run you about $29 online. So back in 1961, it was Eric Dolphy and Booker Little at the famous 5 spot in New York. They did a two-week residency, but there was only one night. I think it was, it was July 16th. Was the only night of that 2-week stretch that was actually recorded. So that one night was broken up into Volume 1 and Volume 2. Like I said, if you are a casual jazz fan, this is absolutely one to check out. This one I'm definitely going to grab this week. So this week, Gym Class Heroes are reissuing their 2nd studio album, The Papercut Chronicles. This was released back in 2005. It's going to be on Emerald Green vinyl. It's going to be an Amazon exclusive, though. It's a double LP. It's going to run you about $35. This is an album I'm really not all that familiar with. So when it comes to Gym Class Heroes, As Cruel as School Children is their 3rd studio album. That's the one album that everyone knows. I've got it on vinyl. It's a great album. I've loved it since it came out. And the one track off that 3rd album is Cupid's Chokehold, which was the big track that really kind of broke them out. A lot of people probably don't know that track is actually on the Papercut Chronicles, but it's a little bit different of a track. It was re-recorded for their 3rd album. It's the only track I know off of this album, so it's definitely one I'm going to have on my stream list this week to go back and check out. And then this week you got another one of those really interesting kind of compilation albums coming out. This is Many Faces of the Sex Pistols. This is a double LP. It's going to be on red and blue vinyl. It's going to run you about $40 online. So this is an interesting compilation because this has some of the early demo stuff, some of the early live stuff from the Sex Pistols on there, which, is available. Like if you go out there and buy, if you track down a copy of Spunk, which Spunk is like, it's a demo album basically from the Sex Pistols, but it has Glenn Matlock, which was their original bass player, on there. If you go through, I don't know which side of the story you believe, but he was either fired from the band because he liked the Beatles, or he said he left the band just because he wanted to go off and do something else. I think there was a lot of inner turmoil in the band, and that's why Glenn probably left. But what makes this album interesting is after the Sex Pistols broke up, Dave Goodman, who was the Sex Pistols engineer, put together a Sex Pistols-like band and called it the X Pistols. And I think Glenn Matlock was actually involved in it there for a while. So this release has 6 tracks from the X Pistols also. So if you go down through there and listen to this album, you're going to hear some stuff that sounds just like the Sex Pistols, but it's not Sex Pistols songs. So that's why I thought it was really kind of interesting to put those tracks on something that's called The Many Faces of the Sex Pistols when it's not even the Sex Pistols. So the next release might have some people scratching their head, but this is Kelly Clarkson, Chemistry. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I thought that came out last week. Well, it did, but there's a version of it that got delayed a week. So this has alternate cover, so it's an alternate artwork, and it's on orchid colored vinyl. It's going to run you about $48 online, though, which I think is, quite a bit for a new release, but I get it. It's on colored vinyl. It's got an alternate artwork. People are probably going to buy it up. I only streamed a couple of songs off of it so far. I actually like what I heard. Like I said last week, I'm not the biggest Kelly Clarkson fan, but she is an incredible singer. She's probably one of those people that can sing the telephone book, if telephone books even exist anymore. But she can probably sing the telephone book and sell a bunch of copies of it. So you get that coming out this week. And then you've got Carole King, Touch of the Sky, coming out, released back in '79. It was our 10th studio album. This is a music on vinyl release, so it's going to be a little pricier. It's going to be about $40 online, limited to 1,500 copies on sky blue vinyl. Of course, Carole King is known for her masterpiece, Tapestry, that came out in '71. I think Touch of the Sky might be kind of her most overlooked album, though. It has a little bit more of a country vibe than some of her other stuff from the '70s does, but it is a really good album. Like $40 though, I think is quite a bit when you can pick up the CD for probably $6 or $8 online. But I'll definitely I might pick it up if I see it in store. Well, it's like every day, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. A bunch of great stuff coming out this week. Like I said, I'm definitely going to grab that Charlie Watts. I'm going to grab that Eric Dolphy if I can find a copy of it in store. Kind of on the fence about a couple other ones, though, but make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.